5mm VR lens. This lens is possibly the world's best ultra-wide zoom lens for landscape, cityscape, or architectural photography.
No, photography is not a game. You can't just walk around and find new gear and hope to become the best photographer. Instead, it takes work. And to share with us today just what that work is really like, we have a special guest. So tell us, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Daniel Clark Cunningham. I am a commercial photographer. I spent the last 10 years freelancing, started assisting after college, and then you can make a lot of money assisting, but then after a while you get tired of other photographers' bullshit. And now I've started a full-time job with a startup company that's a private and white label retailer. And so I spend a lot of time creating image sets for sales.
All right, but now how did you get into photography? Like, how did you know this is what you wanted to do for a living?
Well, I didn't know I wanted to do it for a living until I realized it was kind of the only thing I was good at, or seemingly thought I was good at. Took photo classes in high school. I had a camera. It was my dad's Nikon FE2 when I was like, I want to say 5th grade. I was just goofing off with it. And then in 8th grade, I got a Rebel XTI, a Rebel 2000, because it was a film camera, 35mm. Took it to Europe and spent 2 years after high school just like searching. What am I going to do? My dad was like, you should do business. So I went into CPCC to get my business transfer class set.
That's the thing.
I just kept taking art classes. And then one of my photo teachers at CPCC was like, you should check out this school, RCC, in Ashboro, which has this really awesome photo school founded by a guy that went to RIT. It's not an art school, it's a technical school. They make photographers to go to work. And I just kind of put all my eggs in that basket and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I did a school like that. The Oklahoma School of Photography. They taught you how to become a professional photographer, but it just wasn't a field I was interested in. They were trying to teach us to be, department store photographers, JCPenney's, Dillard's, that type of thing. Not my cup of tea, So, oh well. What drew you to commercial photography?
I knew I didn't really want to shoot weddings. Not that I've shot them before. It's not interesting to me. I have no passion for it, and so I'm not going to do it. So commercial photography was a lot of problem solving. Like, you might use, multiple exposures to build one image for a product, and you're geared towards selling. And I feel like there's more opportunities and more money to be made in the long term of shooting commercial work than weddings. Weddings, you can make a lot of money once you figure out your seasonal calendar, getting your deposits. But I know a lot of wedding photographers that they might do it for 6 years and then they get burned out on it.
Yeah, I don't think I could do weddings.
I would rather plan for a job where there's a celebrity or a CEO or someone who needs a portrait or products that need to be photographed, where we have time to work through it and you have a team dedicated to this one idea. We're going to make the best salad photo we can. So we have a food stylist coming in. They're going to spend all day or half the day prepping this perfect salad with tweezer work. And then I'm going to create a set with lighting that looks, like natural sunlight or whatever else. Or you're going to have a stylist steam and prep all the clothes that have been fitted for this model or this person. And then they might go in and pin it all up to make it look as appealing as necessary. Or hard stylist, soft stylist. There's specializations for everything.
So now obviously photography is a big field. Do you have a niche, some sort of specialization in it?
No, not yet. I think it's I've shot portraits, for like stand-ups for like NASCAR drivers. They're going to do like, it's Goodyear's the client. They're going to have Dale Earnhardt Jr. as a stand-up display in their stores next to a stack of tires, smiling. Somebody's got to do it, and I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
It might be a startup company that makes, a handbag, and we're trying to build them image assets so that they can do a Kickstarter to get funds to actually launch it. Or it's an established brand and they make dash cams, and they want to show, they need photos, like lifestyle photos for e-commerce sales. Yeah.
So it's everything.
It's everything. There are some guys and gals that they do specialize, but they're older.
Interesting.
If you want to shoot food, you call this person, because I don't shoot food. I wouldn't want someone to, if they hire me to shoot food and they accept my bid, I'll do the job because I like getting paid. But there are probably better people out there. In fact, there are better people out there.
So on that, how did you come up with your pricing?
Trial and error. Like as an assistant, I started at $150 a day for a 10-hour day, overtime at time and a half. And then after I got some experience, I raised my prices. And then when I was working as a photographer, I was like, okay, well, what's the job? What's it going to take for me to do it? What's it going to be worth for me to take the time to do it? Because freelance photographers, you might only have a couple days a month you shoot. And if you don't charge enough money, then you have to work at Starbucks. So it was trial and error on, do I include usage? Do I make it a buyout? Do I hire the crew that I know will get it done super fast? Or do I hire the crew that's going to be cheaper, that's going to get it done, but I might have to be a little bit more of a leader and delegate better, or maybe take more on my own plate? We're like, oh, we don't have the budget for a hair and makeup artist. And it's like, we're photographing people for an ad and you don't want them to look good? Well, just sign off saying you decided you didn't want one, so that when the people who look at the images at the very end are like, why are there pimples on this face? Like, so retouching can do a lot, but then I have to charge for retouching. Whereas if I had a hair and makeup artist get them as close to perfect, my retouching is minimal and then it saves money overall. But you didn't want to hire a hair and makeup artist, and now I have an hour and a half of retouching on every final deliverable file, and you've got 20 of them. It's going to add up. It's going to add up to more than that hair and makeup artist. Oh well. Because anything that like people are like, oh, retouching, we'll just do it in retouching. It's like, it's still expensive. Like, you can fix it and get it right in camera and still retouch it, but you'll have less to do. And less to do in Photoshop. Like, I had to take, because I wasn't smart enough to notice it while shooting, a guy's tag on his shirt was up. And I shot, and I was like, oh, I'll just retouch it later. That was my thought. Wrong. I ended up having to hire a professional retoucher because of the texture of the shirt. Everything that I did, you could see the retouch. So I lose $100 to have somebody do it for me when I could have just tucked it. It's a $100 lesson.
Oof. Sure, that's not the only thing you wish you knew sooner. What else you got?
I wish that I would have known to transition from assisting to shooting sooner. Like, work on a book, start finding clients. Because even if you have one client and it's enough to sustain or to assist less, that's a plus. I also wouldn't have been so involved in gear. Like, oh, I can't do this until I have that gear. I can't do this until I have that. Constraining myself to not doing it rather than doing it and learning from it, or like doing the best with what you have. Limitations can be a blessing. So I'd say it would be a combination of realizing I don't need the best gear in the world to make stunning photos, and you want to be a photographer, so focus on that more than being an assistant.
Right, but now as a photographer, how often do you have friends or family or somebody trying to get you to do something for free? Or worse yet, for exposure?
I mean, I get like people who I don't even know that aren't friends that tell me about the exposure that I'll get. And it's not so much anymore, but like people are predatory when you're starting out, and they'll ask you to do stuff for free or discounted, and if I want to work with somebody, like I'm more willing to do the service for free if I like the concept, if it's something that's like more conceptual. If it's more art driven, then yeah, we might just work out a trade. Like if it's a model that, like I've shot some underwater stuff with my friend Katie. She's what I would consider like an alt model. Like she's not working for Ford management. She's not, in Harper's Bazaar, but she moves really well. She has a good look, and she's always up to create things. So like she was like, hey, anybody have any underwater experience? Well, I have a little. Cool, let's shoot something. Made some cool images. I didn't charge her for it. She didn't charge me for her modeling time. It was just a collaboration.
So how do you go about finding paying clients?
I've sent out mailers where I've like compiled like a list, scouring LinkedIn for like, I need an art director. So I looked for like the top 20 ad agencies in Philadelphia, and then went to their website to see if they had a personnel listing on like, here's our staff. And if they don't, then I searched for them on LinkedIn by the company and just look at all the employees. And I built an email list or a snail mail list. But I didn't really see much return on that. And it's mostly just been word of mouth and networking of like, hey, this guy's good. Or like a friend brings me in because they couldn't do the job. Or they're the stylist on the job and the creative team looks for a photographer.
Is there a certain client you'd like to work for?
I'd say any of the larger companies. Like I've worked for Goodyear, and that's cool. Like other retailers would be cool, like Belk Department Store. They're not a huge retailer, but they're bigger than, others. Target would be cool, Best Buy, Crate and Barrel. Really just anybody that wants to hire me to help achieve whatever they're trying to do. Like I'm not trying to come in and change someone's creative vision. I want them to hire me because they think I can assist in getting what they want.
Right, but see, that's assuming your clients actually know what they want. How often do you find this to be the case?
Yeah, that's like...
5-10% of the time, if that?
Well, people think they know what they want, and they give you one direction, and then you give them that, and they also don't know how to communicate. Like, not everybody speaks the same language, So they might say they want the background really blown out. And to me, that means light it more. Put more light on it, make it closer, like higher in exposure. But what they really meant was they wanted it more out of focus. So when I send them something that's blown out, and they're like, well, why did the lighting change? And it's like, because you said you wanted it blown out. Yeah, I want the background to go softer. Well, that's a technical thing with my camera lens. I need to be at a shallower depth of field. And then I have to control my lights accordingly, because if my f-stop changes, my exposure changes.
Or a whole lot of work in Photoshop.
To try and make it, yeah. So like it can be that way. And it's also like people not admitting that they don't know what they want and trying to work on it together and trying to let their ego lead. They don't want to look like they don't know what they're doing, even though we know they don't know what they're doing. And they're doing themselves and the job a disservice by not saying, I don't have all the answers.
Sure, that can't make the editing process any easier.
It depends on the client, because some clients just want me to deliver, not necessarily raw files, but because I won't. I'll send them like 16-bit TIFFs, and they have a retouching team. So I've had a hair and makeup artist on set. The person's styled perfect. We shoot them, they're properly exposed, and then it moves on to whatever they do with them is up to them. If it's up to me, it depends on what I think it needs. Like color correction, toning, cropping, like all that goes into it. But there might be something distracting that I need to get rid of that was impossible to get rid of day of. So I got to clone it out. Or shoot a plate to, drop the exposure. Or maybe I'm shooting like outdoor patio furniture and the umbrella is super, super bright, but everything else looks great. So I'll shoot an additional file stopped down to paint in the umbrella so that the tones are closer together. Just dependent on what it is.
So do your images all have a consistent style, or is each one pretty much unique?
I try to make the set consistent. Like, if I'm going to be delivering 20 files of a product to someone, then I make sure all those 20 files are have a common look to them. But then if I do another project with another client, they might want it to look a different way. So I don't know if I necessarily have a defined style. It's just dependent upon the project.
Makes sense. Anyways, thank you. It's helped me out a lot. I'm sure it has for you guys too. I'm going to leave a link for Daniel's website down below. Be sure to check that out. Also, if there's any questions you have for him or about the business of photography in general, leave a message down in the comments. That way I can get to these in the next video, because this is the type of thing I want to do more of. Get that real world photography experience out to you. So, be sure to like and subscribe. That way you know when those next videos are. All the usual stuff. It's YouTube, you know what to do. Anyways, until then,